All right, and we're live on Instagram and StreamYard here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Just want to introduce myself. So, hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kylie Kwame, and I'm so glad you're here, whether that is live online or watching the recording later, that's fine too. But before we dive in, I want to share why this conversation matters so much to me. And that's because it isn't just something I talk about, but something I've lived. There was a time where I didn't feel like myself at all. I was dealing with brain fog, constant fatigue, literally to the point that no matter how much I slept, I never felt like it was enough. And my weight was changing, my energy was low, and honestly, I just didn't feel like myself anymore. And I remember thinking that this cannot be normal. I do not want to deal with this the rest of my life. Like that is not happening. And because like so many people, I could have been just told everything was fine on blood work, and it wasn't until I did a full blood work panel through the Wellness Way, actually, when I was a student, that everything started to change. So for the first time, I didn't just get answers, but they gave me action steps. So I had a plan. And with those action steps in front of me, I really, truly thank God for it because it changed my life and direction of my health. And now I can't imagine feeling the way I used to at all. I feel so blessed to be walking alongside other people on that same journey and helping them get back to feeling like themselves. So, and honestly, helping them discover a version of themselves, like that new normal, which is amazing. And so that's why we're here today, because I wanted to also ask you guys something. So if you've ever been told that your thyroid labs are normal, or it's just stress, or it's just a part of getting older, or maybe taking that medication and we'll just recheck next year, but deep down, you know that there's still something that isn't right. And if you're dealing with brain fog or fatigue, or no matter how much sleep you get, and the weight gain doesn't make any sense, hair thinning, anxiety, maybe it's irregular cycles too, you're not crazy and you're not alone. And so this is something we at the Wellness Way, we see often. And the truth is, the problem isn't that your body isn't trying. It's the way that you've been taught to look at the thyroid is very limited. And so today I want to open your eyes to a new perspective, because at the Wellness Way here in Sarasota, we don't just ask, is your thyroid normal? But we ask, is it actually functioning the way it's supposed to? And that questioning can really change everything when you open your eyes to that perspective. So let's talk about why so many people are really falling through the cracks and what might actually be going on beneath the surface. So we kind of dive in here. So I have the slides going here. Hopefully you guys can see them. So if you've ever been told, like I mentioned, it's just stress, or you're just getting old, or these type of things, and you're still dealing with all these symptoms of the hair thinning, the brain fog, regular cycles, any of that, there's so many people out there we see on a consistent basis that are dealing with these things, and they realize it's not normal. It may be common, but it's not normal. So one of the biggest issues we see is people, they've been tested, but they've actually not been fully evaluated when it comes to all the markers that they really should to understand the full picture. So this is not just a thyroid problem, but likely a body communication problem. So if we only look at one or two markers, we can really miss the full picture. And so a lot of times that looks at running simple markers and not getting that full picture, like I just mentioned. So by the end of today, I want you to know that, what normal labs, and they don't always mean optimal, the key thyroid markers that most providers sometimes skip, why medication alone won't fix your problems, and what actually needs to be evaluated to start getting some answers. So that standard approach is going to be where most people are only testing TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone, and sometimes they'll add in T4, but usually it's very, very limited, and that's all they test. And so TSH actually is not a thyroid hormone. It's a brain hormone. It's a signal from your brain telling your thyroid to stimulate hormone. And so if we're only looking at TSH, we're not actually measuring how your thyroid is functioning in your body. So there are multiple steps your body has to go through for your thyroid to work properly. And if any of those steps are off, that's when we start to see symptoms. Even if your labs look normal, that's when we start to see those symptoms start to creep in. So there are four main pieces to thyroid and how it can be affected. So we first have production, conversion issues, interference issues, or an immune involvement. That's when we start to see more of those autoimmune traits. As you can see on the chart over, it kind of starts talking through a few of those options, but I'll kind of break that down as we go. So I'm going to start off with production. So this is a common one that people think of when they talk about their thyroid, hypothyroid. They're like, oh, it's just not functioning, it's not producing. But this is one of the things that we want to address. So is your thyroid actually making enough hormone? So that's going to be looking at markers like free and total T4 levels and TSH. Those are going to be very common ones that people look at, because you can still have a normal TSH, but have a low output of T4 as well. And then our second problem would be conversion. So if there's a conversion issue, so your body actually, as soon as that TSH signals to make that T4 then gets like mostly converted into T3. That T3 is your more active thyroid hormone that acts on the cells. And so that's when we look at free T3, total T3, and reverse T3. So when we look at conversion, that T4 is either going to go into T3 or reverse T3. And reverse T3 is that inactive hormone. A lot of times reverse T3 goes up when there's signs of stress and trauma, not eating enough food, inflammation, toxins, certain medications, liver and kidney dysfunction. All of these things can really affect how your body is converting that hormone. So once it's produced, now it's got to convert to be utilized. And if it's not converting well, that's another problem that needs to be addressed. And then we've got an interference problem. So if someone has an interference problem with the thyroid, so even if the levels look okay, T3, T4, they look okay, but your body still has to use the hormone properly at the cellular level. So this is where we start to see that interference. Someone's coming in the picture where they shouldn't be. So this can be things like chronic stress, nutrition deficiencies, inflammation, chemical interference, estrogen metabolism issues. These can all interfere with how your cells respond to that thyroid hormone. And then number 4, there's the immune system stress. So this is actually one of the biggest missing pieces when it comes to thyroid. When I had mine tested as well, this was a big one of that, really opened my eyes to thyroid health. So autoimmune thyroid conditions. So commonly, you've probably heard of Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. Those ones are usually diagnosed based on markers like thyroid peroxidase antibodies or thyroglobulin antibodies. So thyroid peroxidase and thyroglobulin are both natural in the thyroid to help produce thyroid hormone. And what can happen is there's an immune system stress. And with that immune system stress, your body starts creating these antibodies. And now you've got these antibodies attacking the thyroid. So that can interfere with, production, conversion, interference. All those things can still be happening under the surface. And so getting testing really tells you which of those problems is going on specifically with your thyroid. And honestly, when it comes to the immune system, most people have never had those 2 antibodies tested. So, and of course, 2 medications, they typically address more of a production issue than a destruction issue. So it's important to know if there's an active destructive process occurring. And again, like I said, when you have an autoimmune thing, you can have normal TSH and be told everything is fine, but still have an active autoimmune process attacking your thyroid. And most people aren't getting answers because that testing is incomplete. So if you don't have a full test or a full picture, you can't create a plan that works because now you're just guessing. So medication can absolutely be necessary, but here's the problem. So if you're taking medication, it's likely not addressing why your thyroid is struggling, why conversion isn't happening appropriately, or why the immune system is involved in the first place. So our goal here is not just to replace medication. Our goal is to understand why your body is in that pattern in the first place. Why is it doing that? And how can we support the body in the way it's designed to function normally? So I wanted to go over our Swiss watch principle. This is a principle that the Wellness Way we talk about a lot because the body is so connected. So you might even see it behind me on the wall too because we love it so much. So imagine you've got a watch. You've got the center gear and all these other gears surrounding the outside, and all of these gears are turning together like a smooth clock watch. And what can happen over time is if there's a rock in the gear or one gear starts turning a little slowly, then it starts to affect the other gears. Same thing with our body. So we imagine you've got the nervous system in the middle. It's like the electricity to the rest of our body. And you've got all these other body systems surrounding, whether that being the digestive system, the immune system, respiratory, hormones, all of those systems, they're all working together in one way or another. And so if you start to turn a little slowly in one, it's going to start to affect the other and vice versa. So really addressing the body as a whole is our approach here. We want to make sure we're addressing the nervous system. So we're supporting that whole approach, but also the rest of the body systems at the same time instead of focusing in on just one thing. So when someone comes into our clinic, we don't always just look at thyroid markers, actually. We also want to evaluate hormones. how you're metabolizing those hormones, gut health, digestion and absorption of your nutrition, cortisol regulation, nutrition levels, food allergies and other nutrition markers, stress patterns, your nervous system, because all of these different things can impact thyroid function. And a lot of times common things we see with thyroid things is chronic stress is starting to affect conversion. So if we're constantly in a state of chronic stress, that's going to start pushing more into that reverse T3 levels instead of the regular T3. And now we're not utilizing it appropriately. So it's really important to get that reverse T3 marker ran. And that's one of the most common ones I see neglected and not ran. So we run that one in the office anytime we run thyroid. Another one is gut dysfunction. So in your gut, that's actually where you convert a lot of your T4 to your T3 hormone, and that's that more active hormone. So if there's gut dysfunction going on, that's impacting your absorption and nutrition and can really start to affect the immune system as well. And then we've got food allergies. So food allergies can trigger this chronic systemic inflammation and over time create this immune response. And now you've got these antibodies going around in your bloodstream. And if you've already got antibodies affecting your thyroid, now you've got a huge immune system issue. So we need to calm inflammation. And so supporting that with nutrition and targeted food allergy testing can help you reduce that targeted inflammation source as well. And then we've got nutrition deficiencies, because nutrition is so important in anything we do in the body, whether that's making hormones, just anything overall, our nutrition is so important. And so if you're deficient in something that is a cofactor or needed to do something, now you've got that gear turning a little bit slower. So that can impair your hormone production and the overall metabolism of things too. So this is where people start to stay stuck. They're trying to fix a system-wide issue with one single solution. And like I just said, there's 4 different things that could be going on. One solution is not the answer. And so the real question becomes, what does a complete thyroid evaluation actually look like? So this is what we do differently. So in our clinic, we're going to run comprehensive thyroid panels, including a full TTP. So it's TSH, total and free T4, total and free T3, reverse T3, so we make sure we're addressing if there's a conversion issue, thyroid peroxidase antibodies and thyroid globulin antibodies to see if there's any autoimmune immune involvement, T uptake, and thyroxine binding globulin. And then because we want to know what else is going on and what's affecting the thyroid, we also look into understanding that connection. So we might run more blood work with an anemia panel. We're going to look at the different estrogens like estrone, estriol, estradiol, maybe look into testosterones, all of those as well, because those can all affect to binding with thyroid hormone. Blood sugar regulation, liver enzymes, looking at that liver, making sure that liver kidney function is optimal. Vitamin D levels, because I see way too many people deficient, even in the state of Florida. B12, folate, or B9. And then also more, depending on what's going on with the patient, we can always add in more markers. We can look into stool testing. We can look into nutrition. So this is one of those fundamentals where depending on the person, it can change. But if we're looking at thyroid, we want to make sure that we're running the most comprehensive thyroid panel we can. So when you go through this process, so if you were to work with us, when you go through this process, you're getting clarity on what your body is actually doing. So we're making a plan based on your labs and then specific action steps and goals with that as well. And then it's also really important too, because if you've been told that your labs are normal and you still feel off, or you haven't been, tested fully, or you're on thyroid medication, but you still have symptoms of low thyroid function, or you suspect Hashimoto's but just haven't been tested yet, or if you're struggling with fatigue, weight changes, hormone issues, that's another sign too to look more into the thyroid. So you don't need to keep guessing. You don't need to keep being dismissed either. That's something at the Wellness Way. We hear people come in off the street and they're like, I've been just told everything's normal, but I know nothing, it's not normal. And we believe you, because there is more to the story. And, there is a way to actually understand what's going on. So if you've been told your thyroid labs are normal, you're dealing with fatigue, weight changes, brain fog, hair loss, if you've been feeling like you still don't have answers, even though you're trying everything, you don't need just that surface level solution anymore. And you need to understand what's actually driving that thyroid function or dysfunction. And you don't have to spend the next 6 months chasing those symptoms, but take those months and work on restoring how your body is actually functioning. So if you guys are watching either live online or not, we have added a webinar special. So if you're not currently a patient with us, we are offering a comprehensive new patient exam, and that can be either in person or virtual for $99. And that's going to include a full review of your health history, personalized lab testing recommendations. If you're in person, we also do nervous system scans and x-rays. And for a limited time only, this is the big exclusive part, is you can receive $100 credit towards lab testing, whether that be looking into your thyroid, your gut health, whatever it may be. You don't even have to have thyroid concerns to use this. If you book your new patient appointment using the link either on the screen there, otherwise, if you signed up too, we'll be sending you an email. And in that email, we'll have a link with that code. And so if you book within 48 hours by Friday afternoon there on the screen by 12:30, you will receive that discount and that additional credit towards lab testing. And if you are already a current patient too, I challenge you to go and talk with your provider too. And if there's other testing you want to add in, make sure to speak with them about it, and then they can work with you about that. So, all right. So I appreciate everybody who tuned in so far. So if you heard something today that resonated with you, I really encourage you to take that next step, whether that's getting the right testing, having a conversation with us. We offer free complimentary phone calls, or just start asking better questions about your health, because you deserve to feel good again. And so I'd love to answer any questions you guys have. I'll open it up to questions right now. So make sure to type them in the comments below, and I'll start answering some questions. All right. And I'll give it here a few minutes to answer any questions you guys have. I appreciate you guys tuning in. See a couple thank yous. So of course, I'm glad you guys were able to learn. I hope you guys all learned something today and were able to resonate from something I said. Yeah, any questions regarding thyroid health, anything you want me to cover more in depth to, let me know. And if that is talking more about the thyroid conversion versus interference, production, going into that science and physiology, or if it's, what plans might look like with us, what testing looks like, I'd be happy to go live another day too and show you some of my own labs. When I first got tested, I did like hormone testing and some blood work and the thyroid. And that's when I discovered I had some thyroid antibodies. And I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was really healthy. And here I have autoimmune tendencies. And I was like, I had no idea. So when I found out about that, we made sure to address that. We looked into gut health. We looked into stress, because mental, physical, chemical, all those types of stress are so important. And actually, I was excited. I tested last month again, the thyroid markers, and I had the thyroid peroxidase antibody initially, and after retesting, I no longer had it. So I was stoked. I was so excited about that, and it makes me more passionate about helping people stay on the right track with their thyroid. It looks like I do have a question online. It says, how does blood work reveal how your body is converting or using thyroid hormones properly? That's a really good question. You can go a lot of different ways with that one. But so blood work, first off, like I mentioned, getting that full DTP, looking at all those markers, that's going to tell us, is there a conversion issue? Because with the different labs, we kind of look at the trends and what's going on. If your body has really, really high reverse T3, and then your regular T3 levels are on the lower side, or T4 levels are on the lower side, now that's going to affect your body's ability to use the hormone, because now it's going into the storage mode. So that's one of the main things we look at if there's a conversion issue. We'll also take into consideration if there's an interference issue as well. Nutrition is also important, looking into if there's nutrition deficiencies, because things like iron and vitamin D and vitamin C, like all those things are also important, and your body actually using that thyroid hormone on the cell correctly too. So nutrition is very important when it comes to thyroid, and getting that proper blood work done, getting all the markers, getting the full picture is how you start. So you know exactly what's going on, because you don't necessarily know you have a conversion issue until you've seen the blood work. So yeah, great question. Any other questions you guys have? I see lots of thank yous, so thank you guys. I appreciate that. All right. I'll give it just a few more minutes. If there's any other questions, I see there's still a few people watching. Lots of thank yous, of course. Thank you guys for watching. And make sure to keep an eye out for your email. Or if you didn't sign up on the StreamYard and you're just watching on Instagram, make sure to go to our website and you'll be able to see the Book Now button on there. When you go to book, there's an event exclusive. It's literally called Event Exclusive New Patient Evaluation or Exam. And it'll be on that website to be able to book for the next 48 hours. So if you go into that, you'll be able to book with that link. All right. So I got a comment here. It says, love your personal story. I used to have positive antibodies too and no longer do since changing my lifestyle, diet, and getting on specific herbs based on my labs. Amen. I love that. That is such a great story. Kind of same thing here. Same approach. Wellness Way has really changed my life and I'm so fortunate for it. And just because it really gives you real action steps and real labs, because labs don't lie. They give you real information and then you can take that and develop a true plan. So, oh, we got another question. How do you feel about thyroid medication? So that's actually a good question. So with thyroid medication, like I mentioned previously, a lot of it is addressing a production issue. So if there's an actual production issue, whether that's nutrition-based, TSH, or any kind of that actual production issue going on, that's what that's there to address typically. I don't prescribe or do anything with medications. That's not my specialty. I do more of the nutrition lifestyle support and getting that blood work done so that way we know exactly what's going on. But good question. All right, any other questions here? See, we still got a couple people on. Got about 4 people on. So yeah, if any of you 4 have questions, let me know. Otherwise, you can always send us a message, whether that's on Instagram, send us a text or give us a call to our office phone number, email us, join our newsletter too. If you're not on our newsletter, we send lots of good information out every week. So I would love for you guys to join that if you're not already. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining and have a good rest of your day and enjoy the lovely weather outside.